Okay, good morning. We are in chapter 5, in verse 9. It's the poetry of Dvorah. Well, last class I said you in the old class poesy because of the Spanish word, poesía, and you didn't correct me. So you should correct me if I make mistakes like that, right? The poetry, the song, poetry of Shira. It describes the victory in the war of Barak, and it's not only describes the victory, but it has a lot of messages, of lessons that we should learn from it. The generation of Dvorah, of course, but also today there are something that may be relevant, I think, also in the world that's going now today. For example, we mentioned last time, we already saw these verses in 6, 7, and 8. It says, it describes the deterioration of the situation of the security in the roads and in the cities. So it says, in the days of Yael, people stopped walked in the main streets, in the main roads. After that, the cities, the open cities, stopped to be habitated. I mean, people stopped living in the open cities, and in the end, even not in the closed cities. As Lachem Sharim, the war arrived to the gates, right? So if you don't care of sometimes a missile here, a missile there, after that you find them in your own gates, right? So there cannot be any kind of compromise when we are talking about enemies attacking us, and when there are questions of security. If you let them start the attack, it's going to be worse and worse and worse, right? So it starts with, like I said, people were afraid to go in the streets, in the roads, and after that it's arrived to the city, and after that to the right to the city with the walls. Okay, so this is, for example, one example of the problems that was in this generation. And like I said also last time, the poetry is not necessarily according to some kind of order, right? It's not going according to the order. It's go back and forth. It describes the victory and go back to the situation before the war, and again go back to the victory. So we are going back and forth. And here, after describing the situation before the war, Dvorah speaks about how thankful we should be for that victory. So it says in verse 9, this is where we arrived last time. My heart is with Israel leaders, with the dedicated of the people, bless God. So first of all, she praised the leaders that did join to the war, even though we will see later that there were people that weren't in the war. And then she said, those of you who came and volunteered, I also praise you, but all of us together, the leaders, the volunteers, all of them should, in the end of the story, the one who should be blessed is God. Blessed God. And then, רוכבי אתונות סחורות, יושבי על מידין והולכי על דרך. So she here again apply or speaking with three kind of people. First, the rise of tawny gennis, which I don't know what it is, but in Hebrew what it says, the white donkeys. Aton is not the donkey, it's the wife of the donkey. How do you say it? So it's gennis in English? We don't know this word.
Donkey female.
How do you say donkey female? Just say donkey. She donkey. She donkey.
She donkey.
Yeah, okay. So those who ride the white she donkey, what does it mean? Usually the rich traders, the rich businessmen used to ride the white. This is what the Mefarshim, the commentators say, that it was a sign of status of the rich people. So the rich people, these are one group. What?
Like limousine today.
Yeah, the limousine riders. The limousine riders. The Tesla riders. Let's see, to be more relevant. Yeah. Yoshvei al midin, you who sit on saddle rugs. What does it mean to sit on saddle rugs? So again, I don't know exactly what he wants to say here in the translation. In Hebrew, what does it mean, according again to the commentators? Because this Hebrew really, it's not something that we use today. Yeah, so what the Mefarshim say, it comes from the word also din, judge or sentence, and it means those who sit in the court, meaning the judge. So we're talking about the elite, the economical elite, the religious elite, those who were in the court were the rabbis, right, in these times. So we're talking about the religious elite also, and then olchei al derech, and you wayfarers, declare it. So it wants to say all kind of population that benefit from this war. Of course, the traders and the businessmen are going to be benefited from that. The judge, the religious leadership also is going to enjoy the fact that we saw how Hashem won this war. And also those who are the road walkers, those who walk in the roads, also all of you, you should say, declare it. You should understand and declare, thank you, be grateful for the miracles that happen in this war. What I'm trying to do is just literally understand what it's written, because it's, again, even in Hebrew, it's not easy. For example, here, the next word is, I saw two different explanations, both of them totally opposite, right? Mikol mechatzetzim ben mashabim. You speak Hebrew, no? Yitzhak, what is mikol mechatzetzim? Okay, so let's see. Here's the translation says, louder than the sound of archers. Archers, those who yeah. So mechatzetzim can be from the word chetz, which means arrow, which means the sound of a war. So ben mashavim, there among the watering places. So according to the explanation of that mikra, it says, since you sound the voice of war in Israel, you should already thank God for the fact that Am Israel gathered and start to fight back. You should bless God for that. So this is one side of the explanation. It goes to, as we are talking here about the salvation already. Sham yetanu tzidkot Hashem, and let them chant God's gracious acts, the gracious deliverance of Israel. Okay, so according to that, all this verse speaks about the salvation. The other explanation that Rashi explains, mechatzetzim, comes from the word chatzatz. What is chatzatz? Chatzatz are the little stones that you put on the road. What? Gravel. That you use to go on that. So these little stones make noise when you are walking on it. So according to Rashi, he described here again the situation before the war, when people was afraid from the war, from the voice of the steps on the road. So they start to hide between the water place. Mikol mechatzetzim ben mashabim. When they went to take water for the city or to bring or to walk in the fields or whatever, once they sound the voice of people walking in the roads, they had to hide because of the fears they have from the enemies. Sham, in the same place that you have a fear, that you were afraid, you have to thank God for the salvation that happened. So this is other way to read this verse. The first verse says, since you hear the voice of the war, of the archers, you should already be thankful for Hashem. And the second explanation says, if you remember the same places where you were so afraid, this is the places where you have to give thanks to God. Right? So this is two explanation to that. And then it says in the end again, the end of the verse, as yardu lashe'arim am Hashem, then did God's people, meaning Am Israel, march down to the gates. Again, the two explanations. The first, march down to the gates, first says, if you remember, we said that they were afraid to go to the gates before the war. Even in the gates, there were war, right? As lachem she'arim, the same word, she'arim, she'arim. So the war was in the gates, and now Am Israel can go down to the gates, can march to the gates and be safe. This is one explanation. The second explanation that the people of Hashem went to the fight. The fight was in the gates, so they went to the gates to fight, and God was with them. Okay, so anyway, these are two verses that are not very clear. but we try to explain one way or two ways at least. Okay, so the next verse we already saw. It says, "Awake, awake, Dvorah." She encouraged herself to keep singing, and "Arise, O Barak, take your captive, O son of Avinoam." Meaning encouraged also Barak to keep lead Am Israel against the enemies. Why does she have to encourage herself to sing? Or it's part of the sing, just part of the poetry. Or like we said before, because before that she was proud of herself. She said, "Ad shakamti dvora," until I rose. So she related to herself this kind of success. So the God inspiration, the divine inspiration left her. So she had to return it, to return to that. Again, 14, the verse 14 is very hard verse to understand in two main ways to explain. And again, it's described the victory in the end, the war and the victory. It says, "As yerad sarid le'adirim am, Hashem yerad li bagiburim." So the word yerad here is hard to understand. It can be in two meanings. First meaning yarad, meaning come down. And the second meaning can mean lirdot. Lirdot meaning to govern, to control and so on. When there are a king that is controlling the people and makes them work hard for himself, it's called lirdot. For example, the Egyptians radu bashotrim or ba'am. So the Egyptian enslaved Am Israel. So it can be meaning or to get down or to take control. So sarid is remnant, like it's translated here. So according to that, as yerad sarid le'adirim am. So the remnant of Am Israel that survived after the hard time of the slavery, they controlled, right? Controlled those who were mighty. Adirim am, meaning the strong nation. Like so we can say like Hanukkah, like the weak against the strong. According to that, the Sridim, the remnant, could control the mighties, the strong nation. And that was Hashem Yerad Li Bagiborim. The one who made that was, again, the translation here is that God's people, but it doesn't say so in Hebrew. It says God himself was the one who won the victory over the warriors, over the strong people of the other nation. So this is one way to explain that word Yerad, meaning control or win the victory, made the victory, or it can say Yerad, that the remnant came down to the war, came to fight in the war. Okay. Until now, so we have few verses, 12 or 11 to 14, that describe the war and the victory. And now, after that, after finishing the victory, we'll go back to that later again. But here, Dvorah is making an account with the different tribes. I don't know if you say that, making an account, meaning she is checking who was okay, who was wrong, who was good, who was wrong. So she's checking about the different tribes. And like we said, this was one of the main problems. Not all the tribes participated. Not everybody came. Barak himself invited two tribes, Zvulun and Naphtali, and we saw that they came to Har Tavor. We say that other tribes participated and helped in the surrounder of the places, but some other tribes didn't bother to come and join the war. You can say that when Israel is in war, many people feel they can stay aside and don't care and don't do anything. And not always it's possible. Sometimes you cannot do a lot of things, but always you can do something. You can't ignore the situation when Am Israel is in a war. And that was Dvorah here. For one side, she praised those who volunteered and came to help, and she criticized very strongly, until in some point cursing even, people that stay indifferent, that stay aside and didn't come to help. So in verse 14, no, 15, excuse me, in the verse 15, Dvorah mentioned four of the tribes. It says, from Ephraim came they whose roots are in Amalek. So they came from their place. Now, what does it mean that the roots are in Amalek? You know that Amalek is an evil nation.
The same behavior.
The same behavior like Amalek? No, she prays in Ephraim. Ephraim participated in the war. What does it mean? Is root in Amalek? So one explanation goes, they were the first that had battle against Amalek, because who leads a battle against Amalek? Yoshua. Yoshua, what tribe he was? From Ephraim. So the roots of Ephraim, it says Shorsham. It's here translated came, from Ephraim came, but the literal translation is from Ephraim, their roots are, it says, whose roots are in Amalek, meaning the roots, Yoshua, who is the root of Ephraim, fought against Amalek. So this is one explanation, but the literal explanation is much easier. The mountain of Ephraim is called in several places Mount of Amalek. So that came from the Mount of Amalek. It's just the name of the place. Right, so this is easier to understand literally that's what it says. Anyway, it says Ephraim that came from the zone of Amalek participated in the battle. Acharecha Binyamin ba'amecha. After you, meaning after Ephraim, your kin Binyamin. Many people from Binyamin also came and participated. Mine Machir yardu mechokekim. From Machir came down leaders. Who is Machir?
Machir ben Menashe.
Machir ben Menashe, the son of Menashe. What is common between these three tribes, Ephraim, Binyamin, and Menashe?
They came from Rachel.
All of them came from Rachel, right? Ephraim and Menashe came from Yosef, who is the first son of Rachel, and Binyamin is the other son of Rachel. So the three of them came and participated. Umizvulun, Moshchim b'shevet Sofer. From Zvulun, such as hold the marshal's staff. So it's not very clear what it wanted to say here, but apparently the shevet, the staff, was used by the shepherds. We mentioned before that the warriors didn't have even weapon, right? So they came with a stick that they have. Other Chachamim take it to the shevet Sofer. Sofer is the one who writes Sifrei Torah. Right, so that they used to write Sifrei Torah, and even though they left everything, they didn't say, I'm in the yeshiva, I don't have to participate in the war. So they left the yeshiva and came to help in the war. The same we can say about Issachar. V'sarai v'Issachar, here again the verse is not very clear. It says, and Issachar chiefs were with Dvorah, as Barak, so was Issachar. So Issachar was in Dvorah or with Barak? Is it the same place? It's not the same place. Dvorah is back, and Dvorah is back, and Barak in the front lines. So what does it mean that Sarai by Issachar in Dvorah, Issachar ken Barak, and also is Barak rushing after him into the valley, meaning in the battlefield?
Usually they was in a high court, and then they go to the battle.
Okay, so we can say again the same as Zvulun. Even though Issachar usually is with Dvorah in the court, in the yeshiva, in learning Torah, in this moment of necessity, in this moment of war, they left the yeshiva and joined the war, right? So this is one explanation. Other explanation, Rashi explained, Sarai be'Issachar in Dvorah. The leaders were with Dvorah, the spiritual leaders, the religious leaders were with Dvorah, helping and supporting spiritually the people. And Issachar, the people themselves, the tribe himself, not the leaders, the tribe himself, was in Barak in the battlefield. So they divided between the leaders and the people themselves. Anyway, Issachar also in the list of the good guys. Until now we have Ephraim, Binyamin, Menashe, Zvulun, and Issachar. All of them came participating in the battle, and well done. Kol hakavod to these tribes. Now we start in the black list. Okay, in the bad list. Biflagot Reuven gdolim chikeke lev. So again, it's not very clear what she wants to say. We just know that she wants to criticize Reuven. Reuven didn't participate in the battle. So he said, among the clans of Reuven used to be clans. What was the work of Reuven? If you remember, he was one of the two tribes that stayed in the other part of the, they were also shepherds. So they used to live clans, going in the mountains, each one with his own flocks, right? So they, Plagot Reuven, the clans of Reuven, just stay away, were great decisions of heart. Again, I'm not sure about the translation here, but what it says, he had a lot of great thoughts. none of them came into action. Right? So there are people that maybe are great philosophers or thinks many thoughts and they have a lot of ideas, but it stays there in his heart and didn't come to the reality. Then she asks them, why then did you stay among the sheepfolds? If you have so many great decisions of heart, why did you stay far away and didn't come to help?
Outside of Israel, no?
It's in the other side of the Yarden. It's Israel because it's the one Jewish tribe lives there, so it's Israel. So she said, if you have such great thoughts and decisions, why did you stay there in your sheepfolds and didn't come to help in the war? And listen as they pipe for the flocks. So you know that when you have flocks, you have to pipe to make a voice. This is whistle, right? Whistle. Yeah, to whistle, to keep working, keep minding your own business, right? Keep in mind in your own business and didn't come. Among the clans of Reuven were great searching of heart. It's like Cynican. You are such a great person with such a great thought, right? But you are useless. Okay. And then here it's not again two explanations. It says Gilad tarried beyond the Jordan. What is tarried? What? Waited, lived, stayed there. So it's not clear. We cannot, like we said, Machir was a tribe of Menashe. And where did Machir live? In Gilad.
Oh.
So we just say that Machir did come. So but here she said, yo, you stay in the other side of the Yarden.
But Menashe split for two parts.
Yeah, but Machir lived in Gilad. So, two explanations. Maybe there were other people in Gilad, not from Machir, other family of Menashe. So Menashe divided between himself. The family of Machir came and helped. The family of Gilad or other families that were in Gilad didn't come. So those are criticized and those are praised. Others explain that this continue the criticism of Reuven. It says, Reuven, you stayed far away. Why? Because you are far away? Look, Gilad also far away, and they did come. Right? So why did you say you cannot come because you are far away? You can learn from Gilad that live in the other side of the Yarden, and still they came and helped in the battle. So there are two explanations to that. According to one of them, Gilad is in the good list. According to the other, Gilad is in the bad list. ודן, למה יגור אוניות? And Dan, why did he linger? Linger by the ships. So Dan also didn't participate. He stayed in the beach of Tel Aviv and didn't bother himself, like we say today, drank espresso, and didn't bother himself to come to help in the battle. Now, about Dan. We said several times already, Dan had two different places. Maybe we should use the map for a second.
Just to understand, from most of Dan came from Tel Aviv.
This is the map we used in Sefer Yoshua, but it's important. Here it's relevant. So you can see the battle was around here, right near the Kinneret. Har Tavor, it's here. Ephraim came from here. Menashe came from here. They are closed. Issachar is closed. Bulun is closed, right? Naphtali, more or less. This is Menashe. This is Machir and Menashe here in the far. So it's, yeah, not so far. But this is Reuven. Reuven didn't come. Even though Reuven is all here, he didn't come. He arrived until here. And you can see that it's near Ephraim, and Binyamin also in the same line. Yehuda is not mentioned at all in the Shira. It's a question why. Maybe because he was always a little bit separated. Or maybe he was really as to mind his own business, because we know that Shamgar ben Anat has a fight with the Plishtim here. So maybe they were busy with Plishtim. Anyway, Dan is here, where today is Tel Aviv, but he couldn't take this place, if you remember, and he went to the north, and he had another place here in the north. So when she says he stayed near the beach, near the how do you say, coast, near the coast, is because apparently some of them did live here, and she speak about this part. And she said, why did you stay here and didn't come to help like the other tribes? Asher yashav lechוף ימים ועל מפרציו ישכון. Asher is here, also in the list of the people that didn't come. So Asher was very mixed with the Knaanim, the same Knaanim that they fought against him. We saw that in the first chapter. So apparently he preferred to keep good relationship with them and not participated in the war. So this also in the, so we can see what are the interests of the people that didn't come to help. Or they felt that they are far away, or they mind their own businesses and had other priorities than help Am Israel, or they wanted to keep good relationship with the enemies. All of those reasons prevented them to come and help Am Israel, and in the bottom line, they were wrong, right? They didn't come to help in the war. Something interesting here, well, I tell you after that, okay, continue. And after mentioning the tribes that didn't come, she returned to the people that do come. So, and especially mentioned two of them. One of them was already mentioned before, and like we said before, these two tribes were those who sacrificed more than anyone else. Those are Zvulun and Naphtali. Zvulun is a people that mocked at death, Naphtali on the open heights. Here's the translation, ignored the Ta'amei Mikra. You know the Ta'amei Mikra, the signs that tells us how to sing.
Yeah.
What is the melody that we have to sing? So it's not only how to sing, it's also how to make the punctuation. How do you say punctuation? When you have what?
Punctuation.
Punctuation. So here, the stop, the big stop in the verse is after the word Naphtali. So it should be read like that. Zvulun, the people who mocked at death, and Naphtali also, people who mocked at death. Both of them on the open heights. על מרומי שדה. זבולון עם חרב נפשו למות ונפתלי. Those were על מרומי שדה. Right? Because the etnachta, the big stop is in the word Naphtali. It's not in the word lamut. Right? Okay, anyway, those two tribes, and this is go very well what we said when we explained about the battle, that the purpose of bringing Naphtali and Zvulun to Mount Tabor was as a bite, as to attract the enemy, the army of the enemy, and it was like sacrificing themselves. And once the enemy is gathering in the same place, they are going to lose in the beginning of the battle, and then the other tribes from the round, Ephraim, Issachar, Menashe, are going to join and help them. So they were the one who mocked at death, meaning they were willing to put themselves in a dangerous place in order to achieve the victory. Okay, so we have the list of the good guys and the bad guys, those who help or those who didn't help. And in contrast to that, we see the next verse. While we are divided and some of us come and some of us don't come, the enemies are very united. And they are very dedicated to the purpose of defeating Am Israel. That's what it says in the next verse. Then the kings came. They fought. The kings of Canaan fought. At Ta'anach by Megiddo waters, they got no spoil of silver, meaning they came not for money. So while in our tribe some came and some didn't came, all the kings of Canaan gathered together. They came to the place of the war, not for money, not for anything, only because they wanted to help each other. So they were united and we were divided, and that was one of the problems. Okay, after describing the situation between Am Israel and the Goyim, it turned to the victory and to the miracle. So Am Israel came, the Goyim came, they were strong, they were stronger than us. What's happened? How could we win the war? Hashem intervened and helped us. It says, the stars fought from heaven. From the courses, they fought against Israel. What does it mean that from the heaven, the stars fought against Sisra? We can understand that as a metaphor, right? Not the stars themselves. Meaning all the nature, all the world arranged itself in a way that defeated Sisra. Like the stars themselves moved from their course, from the regular course, in order to change the nature and to help. And as a result of that, there was the big change, that there was suddenly a strong rain, and then the torrent Kishon swept them away. here we saw the hint, what we say, that the victory arrived because of the sudden rain, which changed the situation of the land, and it was a lot of mud, right? And then the river himself took the horses of the chariots and everything. And I would just say the torrent of Kishon, the river of Kishon, usually it's a dry river. It's not a river that has water during the summer. During the winter, it has sometimes, depends if it's good, if it's a good winter, but usually it's a dry river. So it says that was a miracle. Mina Shamayim, from heaven it flowed, and then this river, this torrent was filled with water, and then it swept them away. The raging torrent, the torrent Kishon, merged on my soul with courage. When I saw that, my soul was filled with courage, meaning the soul of the soldiers, when they saw that Hashem is helping them, it was filled with courage. I forgot to say something about the former. In the list of the tribes, there's something very interesting. Dvorah, alluding to the blessings that the tribes received from Moshe and Yaakov, but change the blessing with the tribe. For example, when she says to Reuven, Lama yashavta ben mishpatayim, why did they stay among the sheepfolds? The word mishpatayim, sheepfolds, in the bracha of, I think of Moshe, I always confused between these two brachot, was said to Issachar. Asher lechof yamim yishkon, asher in the coast of the river, of the sea, so it is something that was said to Zvulun. Right? So there are several examples of that. That Naftali Amerom Mesadeh, so it was said to other people. What I'm trying to say is she changed the blessing. What does it mean she changed the blessing? The blessing is not only I'm giving you a gift, you would get that and that and that. The blessing should be help you to reveal something that already exists in you. So the blessing, we say that each of the blessings that Yaakov and Moshe gave to the tribes was the right blessing, the blessing that revealed something that he has inside himself, the potential that he had inside himself. When you change that, you said, you didn't fulfill each one of you your specific role inside Am Israel, right? You mixed the roles. You weren't loyal to your essence, to your own potential or to your own character. And this is also was one of the reasons to the failure this generation. That was just a commentary about that. Okay, so we continue to describe the miracle. So we say from the sky, from heaven, there was intervention. The river took the enemies, swept the enemies, and then my soul filled with courage. Then the horse hoof pounded as headlong galloped the steeds. I don't know exactly this word, but it says it's describing how the horses run away. There was a mess and noise, and they started to drone there. What?
To go fast. They went.
They tried to go fast, but they couldn't. Yeah. Okay, so almu ikveso, like hits the ground. Almu lehelom, they hit the ground, and it was a lot of noise and mess for the when the horses try to avoid the situation, and this is again the description of what's happened and what caused the victory. And then we returned again to the list of the bad guys in order to contrast that with Yael, as we're going to see later. So now she arrives to the story of Yael, but then she mentioned another place. So he said, curse Meroz. Meroz is the name of a city. It's not very clear today. We don't know the city, but apparently it's a closed city, close to the war. And they also decided not to come and help. So curse Meroz, says the angel of God, bitterly curse its inhabitants, because they came not to God's aid, the God's aid among the warriors. So even though she did criticize Reuven and Dan and Asher for not coming, this is another level. She not only said, why didn't you come? It's so bad that you didn't come. She cursed them. She said, you be cursed by the angel of God for not coming. Why is this different? Apparently because it was so close. And they preferred to be outside the story, you not come to help. And maybe more than that, maybe even they help the enemies. Okay, being close, meaning you're giving support, maybe you sell food, maybe you sell some help. So you're there and you're not coming to the help of God, meaning to help of Am Israel, so cursed be you. So here we say sometimes it's not only why didn't you come, it's also you will be punished for that, you will be cursed for that. Now here another point that's interesting in this verse, it says because they didn't come to the God's hate. Now what does it mean? Does God need hate? What does it mean, God's aid? Like they didn't help God. God doesn't need the help of anyone. What does it mean? It means helping God is helping Am Israel. You can help God. God can do anything by himself. It's not a problem for him. But he wants us to do. He wants us to be active and to act. And when Am Israel is making this effort and making this action of war, and you are staying aside, meaning you don't want to help God, meaning you don't want to help the warriors of God, which is Am Israel. So again, here we see again the importance of not being indifferent and not being aside when Am Israel needs our participation and our support, be that in this way or another. And then, as again contrast to that, we see in the next verse, most blessed of women be Yael, wife of Hever the Kenite, most blessed of women in tents. So unlike Meroz that decided to stay aside, Yael decided to sacrifice herself to make this effort to participate and to do what she did, and that for that she'll be blessed. So the contrast here is between curse be and blessed be, right? They will be cursed while Yael will be blessed. Okay, I think we leave this to the next class. The last part of the poetry of Dvorah is about what Yael did, and then very interesting insight to the mother of Sisra. Usually, I think that usually when we have descriptions of war in the Bible, or generally in literature, we see that always from the point of view of the men who are in the battle. So the description of the battle. We never think about the women that wait at home. How does they see the situation? So we are going to get interesting insight about that in the end of the poetry. Okay, יישר כוח.